Good evening. Thank you for coming back to the channel Question and Research. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also follow this channel, subscribe to the channel, and also follow me on Instagram. One word Question and Research. Today's Black History moment is Robert Abbott. He is the founder of the Chicago Defender or the Defender. Um, this was a weekly newspaper geared towards African Americans and the things that were going on in the community as well as nationwide. This was a sensationalized paper, and he followed yellow journalism. So they say it's more like sensationalized, but I don't want to sit here and say the things that was being printed mainly sensationalized, because the things that African American people went through wasn't sensationalized. These are some real things that happened. People really were killed for this, for things just because of their skin color. Um, Robert Abbott, it was some kind. I couldn't really find a definite date when he was born, so either he lived to be 70 or 72. So they have him listed 1868 or 1870, and he passed away in 1940. Robert Abbott was born in Georgia to two parents that were slaves, but eventually they were out of slavery by the time he was born, because he either 1868 or 1870, and slavery was abolished in 1865. What I find amazing about Robert Abbott, he started this newsletter geared towards African Americans. Ida B. Wells was a contributor to the paper, and it was plenty of times there was a bounty on her head because of the outspoken nature that she had when she was writing articles um, as well. So most of his readership came from the Chicago, South Side of Chicago. 2/3 of people were reading it were black. And this paper was smuggled into the South by the Pullman Porter. So that's another great history moment right there. Pullman Porter, there were a lot of African American men who were Pullman Porter on the trains. So they smuggled in the papers. And the reason for that was these were controversial topics. People were telling it how, he was telling it how it was, um, and how black people were being mistreated. He also hired somebody named J. Oakley Smiley. This was like really helpful because the paper was gaining traction. This paper also had a health section as well as a comic strip section as well. So having an extra hand to help out really pushed forth the production of the paper, and really reached a lot of goals that Robert Abbott had in his mind to accomplish. Another thing about the Chicago Defender, it promoted migration. So it was responsible for the great migration from the South to the North. So what Robert Abbott would do, what he would publish in the paper, this is what he would do. He would publish jobs, places of employment. He will also list train times from the South to whatever city. I'm assuming mainly Chicago, but that's what he was doing, and that's what, to me, that was amazing. It was very helpful and informative for many people, and people were actually like reading the paper because it was geared towards them. um it's a paper that was geared towards African Americans. Also, he was very mindful about the wording of how we were referred to. We weren't referred to as Negro. We weren't referred to as Black, but African American. And I felt like that was very important because words are important. Um, Another thing about the Chicago Defender, they had 500,000 um, readership, so that's pretty good. Also, I covered this subject just a few days ago, Red Summer of 1919. Um, and again, also the Great Migration. So those two things that I noticed that it covered. Also, what can I say? What else I can say is about Robert Abbott. I feel like he was a man of wealth. So newspapers back then, I would say it's more like it was their social media of the time. So before Black People Meets, before Facebook, before social media, before YouTube, all the TikTok, newspapers were the form of social media to get people talking. So he did buy some things, buy not things, but some news outlets. So he had the ownership of the Pittsburgh Courier, the Michigan Chronicle, and the State Defender. And he also founded the National Negro Publishers. So he was owner of all this. So it's amazing to hear and see and read about someone who dedicated their lives to inspiring Black people, African Americans, bringing truth and sincerity to a community, as well as owning, having some ownership, having some wealth. So thank you again. This is the Black History Moment for today. I couldn't find like a art, like not an article, but a quote or anything that he would have said. But I like to thank everyone who is listening to this video, listening to some Black history. Um, as mentioned before, I'm gonna be doing Black history on people that people may not know them or know about. So make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share. Also follow me on Instagram, question and research, and tell me your thoughts about what you think. Have a good night.